If you're struggling with shin pain while running and you're debating if you have shin splints or stress fracture, this video will help clear it up so that you can treat it appropriately. This video was inspired by a patient that I recently started working with who came to me with shin pain while running, and I didn't actually have that much information leading into the initial evaluation, but it was basically a high school female struggling with shin pain while running, with track and just running in general. So I was a little bit worried is a strong word leading into the appointment, but I was thinking in my head, all right, I get a lot of calls for shin pain with running, and sometimes I have to tell people this isn't shin splints, this is a stress fracture. And the only treatment for a stress fracture, once you determine that you have one, is resting. And resting from running, resting from lifting, resting from everything, and minimizing time on feet, getting some soft shoes, things of that nature. But the treatment for shin splints looks entirely different, and oftentimes people can run when they are battling with shin splints. In this video, I'm gonna lay out the differences between the shin splints and stress fracture so that you can figure out what you may be dealing with so that you can treat it appropriately. Hi, my name is Dr. Michael. I'm a physical therapist here in Evanston, Illinois at Valiant Physical Therapy, where we specialize in working with runners. And working with patients who have shin splints and stress fractures is very common to us, and the treatment for each of those looks very different. So I'm gonna get into it right now about kind of figuring out the difference between the two. So the first thing I want you to know when you're trying to determine if you have shin splints or stress fracture is the symptom location and the size of the symptoms. So here I have two tibias drawn. This is a left one facing us. This is a right one facing us, okay? The location of symptoms for shin splints is often going to be more broad, okay? So it's going to be a larger area. A lot of times when I'm working with a patient and they're talking to me about their shin pain, pretend this is a shin, they'll kind of do something like this, where, oh, my shin pain is kind of like this. It kind of burns here when I run, okay? And that, when people start to gesture like this, makes me think, okay, it already starts to make me think, okay, we may be dealing with a shin splints here, okay? So the symptom location is rather broad. It's a little bit diffuse, and there's kind of a large size to it, okay? For a stress fracture, okay, there is going to be a point to it, okay? So the most common location for a stress fracture in runners is right here at the medial tibia. Not quite at the ankle, not up here by the knee, kind of somewhere towards the bottom, kind of past the halfway mark, okay? That is the most common site of stress fractures, okay? And there is absolutely a point to the pain, okay? It hurts right there, okay? It hurts when running. It oftentimes will hurt when walking around and just with standing. It oftentimes will hurt at rest, especially on days where you exercised a lot, either that morning or even the day before, okay? So the tricky thing with this, because this might actually seem pretty straightforward, is that the symptoms for a stress fracture will actually radiate a little bit. So there's a point to it, but the symptoms kind of spread out, okay? And they might even go even higher than this, but so sometimes people will be thinking about whether they have shin splints or stress fracture, and they hear about the size of the location, and they have this kind of a pain presentation, and they're like, okay, well, it is kind of large. It's not just one spot. I kind of feel it all over my shin. But if you're really being honest with yourself, you can absolutely, if you have a stress fracture, you could point to the spot. You can say, it is worse right here. This is where it is, and then maybe it kind of radiates around, and it kind of hurts generally in the tibia, in the shin, but it hurts right here, okay? It's oftentimes very sharp. It's definitely uncomfortable, doesn't feel good. And the tricky part about it is that for a lot of people, you can kind of run through it. It doesn't hurt so bad that you have to stop. It oftentimes hurts enough where you notice it, but if we're being honest, a lot of people can run with these, but it doesn't improve if you're running. The only treatment for this is rest. You have to stop, okay? It's a lot to explain in this video about how exactly to treat stress fractures, but in this video, I'm kind of trying to explain the difference between the two. So shin splints is broad. Stress fracture, there's going to be a point to it. Even if there's some radiance to it, there's absolutely a spot that you can point to that says it hurts right here. The other differentiator between shin splints and stress fracture is going to be how the symptoms change with running and how the symptoms change really with activity. So I'm gonna draw two little graphs here. So this line here, this axis is going to be symptom severity. So this is going to be pain severity, pain intensity, and this is going to be time. Okay, so time spent running, same thing over here. With shin splints, the pain is going to be there at the beginning. The pain is going to be there at the beginning. It's going to likely be there, especially at the beginning. It's probably going to get a little bit worse as you're starting to run, but then it's going to kind of level out, and at some point it'll start to flatten, and it'll even go away as you're running, okay? Sometimes people with shin splints, when they get later in the run, there will be a little blip kind of towards the end, but in some real capacity with shin splints, there is a buildup, and then it kind of goes away. So it does at some point go away as you're running. It usually doesn't stay the whole time, and that is the symptom presentation with shin splints. With a stress fracture, what's going to happen is the pain's going to be there at the beginning, and as you're running, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to keep getting worse. It's going to keep getting worse as you're running. It's definitely not getting any better. There's no warming up phenomenon like there is over here. Okay, it is getting worse as you're running more. Okay, and then the interesting thing about stress fractures is that, let's say the run ends here. Okay, the time for the run ends here. I know that that doesn't technically work on the axis for you math people, because now it looks like there's another y-axis. But with the stress fracture, when the run is over, okay, there's going to be some lingering, okay? And maybe it gets a little bit better, but it's going to take a long time to calm down, okay? But there is a lingering aspect to the pain that exists even after you stop running, okay? Shin splints is basically going to hurt when you run, okay? So let's go back to the example that I was talking about earlier, a female cross-country and track runner who was having shin pain. That's basically what I knew going into the evaluation. Now, right away, she was talking about how her shin pain, I asked her, hey, where is your pain? Where is your pain? And she kind of goes, oh, it's kind of like up and down my shin, okay? And I asked her, I'm like, is there like a spot to it? Is there any particular part that is worse than the rest? And she goes, no, not really. And she was sitting there comfortably, and I asked her, do you have any pain just sitting there right now? And she's like, no, it feels fine. I don't have any problems just sitting around. I'm like, do you ever have problems when you're just sitting around? And she goes, no, it feels okay. I'm like, okay, sounding pretty good. She also was doing some lower body lifting. So I asked her, how did your exercises typically feel? What kind of exercises do you do? She was doing squats, lunges, calf raises, okay, some of those things with weight. And I asked her, do any of those hurt? And she's like, no, they all feel fine. I don't notice any shin pain when I'm doing my lower body lifting. And I'm like, okay, so tell me when your shin pain is usually the worst. And she says, when I run. Every time I run, my shins hurt, okay? So just based on that alone, she has this broad symptom location. There's no point to it. It doesn't hurt when she's just sitting around living her daily life. It doesn't hurt when she's walking or sitting. And it doesn't hurt when she's doing her lower body weightlifting. So I'm already basically thinking that she has shin splints, but I wanted to test a little bit further. So I got her on the treadmill, and as soon as she started running, I asked her, how does that feel? Okay. And she says, it feels fine. There's no problem. And I said, okay, oh my goodness. Well, you've normally said that it hurts whenever you run. So now you're running here and you'd have no pain. She goes, yeah, it feels fine right now. And we were running at a conversational pace, nothing too crazy. Her cadence was good. Her running form was good. I did a running gait analysis. Everything looked fine. So then when I got her off the treadmill, I asked her, I said, so if that felt fine, like, when do you normally notice your shin pain? And she's like, well, with track and with the training that I'm doing a lot of sprinting and I'm doing a lot of really fast running. I'm not really doing a lot of slow mileage runs. All I'm doing is sprinting. Come to find out, her history is that she got into track that semester. So she had no running base before she got into track where she was doing all this speed and sprinting work. So she didn't have a stress fracture, okay? She definitely has shin splints, but the problem that she was having was more based on the intensity of her training and the lack of a running base. So all I got her set up on was, okay, I just want you, I actually got her started on a run walk first, just to kind of be a little bit more delicate. She did a run walk for like a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then I got her continuously running for 30 minutes, and she has had no shin pain the entire time. So the problem for her wasn't that she had a stress fracture. She did have shin splints, but the problem was in the way that her training was structured based on her history of running, which was basically none. She was only doing speed work. So that's going to be really hard for the shins to handle if they're not used to it. So I basically got her on a very gradual and basic base building program for running at a conversational pace. So wasn't too complicated to treat her. She's doing really well right now, and she's been able to participate in the summer cross country camp leading into the fall with no shin pain. So she didn't have a stress fracture. She had shin splints, but it was based on the way her training was structured. So got her training recalibrated, and she's running without pain. So happy to say that. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. If you have questions, put in the comments. If you know somebody who might have one of these and they're kind of like, I'm not sure, send this video over to them. Thanks for watching.